are doing a tier list of every single class in Mewgenics based off how good I think they are. Now, I have around 100 hours in the game, which in retrospect really is not a lot for a game like Mewgenics, but I really wanted to put my current thoughts down just so I can watch this video later myself, around like 1,500 or 2,000 hours later, just to see how good my takes were. Also, later in the video, we got Alex, one of the game's devs, who has around like 3,000 hours in the game, to give us their tier list of every single class in the game, and honestly, looking at their tier list after making mine, it's honestly really interesting. Anyways, if this video gets 5,000 likes and you subscribe, I will make a tier list of whatever the top comment is. Within reason. But genuinely, let me just go down through my thoughts, not in any particular order. But fellas, first of all, I want to talk about what I think is the best class. At least what I would define as the best class. It's the most consistent class. Like, if I get a class, I know I can get them going no matter what abilities or passes I get. I can make something work, and that's Hunter. I think Hunter has to go in S tier. They're always consistent. They're always very good, and for that very good consistency, I don't know if they're number one, but they're an S tier for sure. Most boring take, but true. That's what I'm saying. It is kind of a boring take. Most people agree. Hunter is crazy, but I agree too, mainly because of how just consistently good they are. If they were only good with like, if you have this passive and this ability, okay, that's cool, but I wouldn't say they're good for like one little combo. Because I think most classes has something that's crazy for them specifically if you get a specific passive or an ability or something. You can say that about any class. But I think just being able to go into a run, knowing with Hunter, I'll make it work, that is huge. I have heard a lot of things about the Monk. Let's talk about the Monk next. The Monk is probably the class I've played the least amount out of all of the classes so far, except for Jester, but does Jester really count here? But Monk, I think I've done only 2 runs on so far. I've seen takes that I've seen on other tier lists where people have been putting Monk in like S tier. I don't know how good they are yet. And this is like probably the class I'm least qualified to talk about. Out of the 2 runs I had on the Monk, I didn't think they were crazy. Basically, if you don't know Monk, they have their passive basically is their damage is cut in half, but they can attack twice. And the fact that they can attack twice does work very well for a lot of different like items or synergies you can get. If you can like stack bleed or whatever other thing you can stack on like poison with auto attacks or whatever other items you can get, they have good potential. Like I think throwing them in higher tier, because I don't want to like compare my list to other people's list I've seen. I'm only doing that for Monk because I don't have enough experience with them just yet. So I think I want to throw them high just to respect other people's opinions, but I'm going to throw them probably like a low, high A, maybe a B tier. I think B tier is more neutral. Maybe we throw it in B tier, leave it in neutral for now, because I'm not too sure. I guess let's talk about Collarless next, because Collarless is its own class. Anybody can get a Collarless like passives or abilities, but I think if you're running strictly a Collarless cat, it is going to be lower on the tier list, because everything except for Collarless and Jester both get like buffs to their stats for whatever class they're in. But Collarless and Jester don't get any stat buffs when just going into the run. So innately, they're going to be lower on the tier list, just, you know, less stats overall. I guess, yes, less unique builds. Because anytime you go into a Collarless run, you don't really know what you're building. You could have like high things in one stat, but since Collarless builds like vary so much, it's kind of hard to make them consistent in a good way and to know exactly what you're going for off the beginning. I'm basing this tier list off of you having 0 items going into your run, because if you have a lot of good items, you could stack them on any class to make them really good. But I'm basing this purely off of just the class itself going into a run without any like given items or weapons or anything. So I think for Collarless, I think I have to throw it probably pretty low. They have some great passives. I know Mini-Me. I have a personal fan of Mini-Me. They have some other really good ones too, but it is just innately worse than everything else. So I think I'm probably going to throw it in D tier, I would say. They have to go very low just because they have less options than everybody else and less, you know, overall like archetypes for things they can go. Let's talk about Jester, because it is very similar to Collarless, where they don't get abilities, or they don't get like stat ups or stat downs for just having the collar. But Jester innately does get, on level up, the choice of any classes, passives, and actives, which isn't always the best. But at least having options for classes is better than Collarless. You need a Jester tier? I don't think I do. I've seen other tier lists where people have thrown Jester in their own separate like tier, which I think is silly. Yeah, I guess Jester as well does get an innate reroll. For any time they level up, they can reroll whatever they get. So whether it's stats or the passives or actives or upgrades or whatever, they have 1 reroll for free, which is very nice. I think Jester by itself is just better than Collarless, just because having options to take abilities from classes, which most of the time, class abilities are going to be better than Collarless abilities, most of the time. But having that option is good, and being able to mix and match different things into your run and having the reroll to try to force whatever build you want to go for and to kind kind of working based off what you get is not bad. Like, I don't think Jester is bad at all. Not as bad as Collarless. I don't think anybody else is going to go down in D tier with Collarless, at least in my eyes, but we'll see. But Jester, I think they're better. I don't think they're going in D tier. I think anything, Jester is probably a C or a B. I don't think they need their own tier. It's just very much less consistent because of there's so many different variables that go into play into making a Jester run work. Jester going to low roll very hard and often. Yeah, which is why I'm not going to throw them high at all. But I think I'd still put them above Collarless. I think it's a solid C. Again, they can go crazy. They can go absolutely insane. It's just you have to get kind of lucky and kind of know what you're trying to build with the abilities you see. I guess let's talk about the other base classes, the fighter, the mage, and the tank. Let's talk about fighter first. Fighter, I'm not too sure on. Like, I honestly think that fighter gets outshined by so many other classes, especially the butcher. I feel like the fighter is unique in their own ways, but I really feel like it's a color thing. They're both red. But I really feel like fighter's the worst butcher, which is not true. It's just what my brain says. But to me, I haven't thought fighter has been super crazy. That's just from personal experience. I've done several fighter runs. I've never thought they were like the backbones of my runs. And like, they're kind of, for me, maybe I'm just building them wrong every time. They're kind of in between of like a tank and like a weird agile guy of a thief, while also hitting like a truck sometimes. Personally, I'm probably going to throw him in a low B. I'm probably going to put him below the monk just because the runs I have, I don't think I've either built them correctly or seen the potential go crazy in fighters. Obviously, I know all these classes can go insane, but I have to put something on the tier list. So I think it has to go in B. Fighter has the consistency of a hunter with a bit lower of a floor. I go A. I disagree. The fact that they're melee is a big thing because hunter is insane because one, they're consistent and they're out of range. So they're always out of the way. But fighter, you kind of have to go in and have like movement options if you want to go in to actually leave as well. Otherwise, you're going to be tanking some hits and you got to be prepared to tank some hits. I think just lower B. I think it's easier for you to ruin a fighter run than for you to ruin like these other two runs. Next up is mage. I feel like I should save my mage opinions till later because I feel like every single tier list I've seen so far about Mewgenics has always put mage super low. And personally, I don't get it. I think mage is a really good class, man. I think any ranged class is good. Is that crazy? I don't know why people always rank it so low. Because the runs I always have with Mage, but pretty consistently, not carrying my run, but helping out a lot. Because a lot of Mage builds go high into like stunning enemies with the zap abilities. Obviously, other classes do that too. Or like going more of a tank Mage kind of build on my one solo cat run was crazy. There's some really good passives. And to even like share mana with everything you get too. Mage is good. Everyone's like dissing on Mage, but I don't think Mage is bad. I do not think they're near as consistent as a hunter, nor do I think they're as good as a hunter. I think they are good, but I don't think they're the best. Like the damage numbers and scaling for a mage aren't really there because mage, you don't really stack like innately with the abilities or passives. There aren't a lot of things to stack, things to do a lot of damage like late game bosses. If there's a boss with 200 HP, your mage most likely isn't going to solo them. They're going to help do like status effects, whatever they do, like wind and pushing them around. I think they're more weirdly supporty in the way at least I like to play them with pushing them back with wind, with the water movement, with the stunning of electric abilities, of burning them with fire sometimes. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's great. And I hate to put everything in B, but I think they're going in high B for me. I'm going to put them above a monk, mainly because I don't know where to put the monk. I think they're going in high B. I don't think it's a bad class, but I don't think it's like crazy. Like I've seen other tier lists where people put them like at the very bottom, which is kind of insane if you ask me. I mean, the only thing is I just always feel like it's hard to scale the mage into boss fights. I think that's the biggest thing where they have an issue from, but they're super like good for taking care of like smaller guys. Again, I have 100 hours. I am not qualified to give takes on this, but I want to give my takes now so we can all laugh at me later, or you can laugh at me now, and then I'll learn. I'll learn with my mistakes. Monk is good. I've heard Monk is very good. I haven't seen other people play the game besides me. I've been very much avoiding other people like spoiling the game for me until I 100% beat it. And I guess it's a good point to note. I haven't beaten the game yet. I am currently halfway done with Act 3. Have not finished Act 3, but I have everything unlocked. I've done a few runs on everybody except for Monk. Last one of the base classes is the tank. I've also seen a few tier lists that put the tank super low. And weirdly enough, I'm going to say my opinion, I think they're A tier. I think tank is solid. Is that just me? I think tank is a solid class. Someone who's innately having so much health that is just a body to suck up damage, I think is good. I don't think it really matters how like maybe mid some of their abilities are. You get 4 additional constitution if you go tank. I think it's just good even if they do nothing. they're gonna soak some damage. And again, the more constitution you have, the more you heal after the fight too. Like I like going different like bleed or thorn or trample builds on tank. I know there are other rock-based builds as well you can go. I haven't really dived into those runs or those kinds of builds on my tanks before. I have maybe 1 or 2 times. The way I've seen tank shine is by going very much hard into thorn and bleed and trample build. That's where I think they shine in my eyes. They've always been solid, not directly carries, but if I don't have a tank, I don't think I'll win a lot of the time. I think a tank is a solid class. Fellas, next up is Cleric. So Cleric, I feel like a lot of people, at least early on, including myself, would rank very high because having a consistent way to heal people is very, very good. Even now that I'm in Act 3, I'm using Cleric less often. I didn't use them super often early on. I just know a lot of people like using Cleric because of the easy heals they give. And I think it is very nice. Like, it's never bad to have a Cleric on the squad. I don't think you always need to have a Cleric, but it is very nice to have. Now, overall, the class, there's like a few different archetypes you can go on Cleric. I know you can go massive with the big healy stuff. Obviously, big debuffy kind of guy too. You can also make it so they're a battle Cleric where they kind of just run in and do a bunch of damage. They have a few abilities that go alongside that, which is really, really good. I think for me, I'm comparing it to other classes I put on the tier list. I think Cleric has to go in A. I probably put them below a tank. I probably put them below a tank. You're just comparing my tier list. They're definitely better than a Mage in my eyes, but worse than a tank. Alpha Clerics can go crazy. They can go crazy. Yeah, if you get multiple alpha abilities on the Cleric to stack on one guy to make them juiced up, it is very good. I know I had a run recently where I had a Thief go absolutely insane, and my Cleric had 2 different alpha abilities to like give them extra movement and extra stats and everything every single turn, which was nuts. It can go kind of crazy. Yeah, also high constitution as well, so same kind of thing as tank. But like, you can run a Cleric that is a tank as well. But the big thing with the Cleric, I want to make sure they're not able to heal themselves. So if they're taking damage, they cannot heal themselves the same way they can heal others, which is the big thing. So I don't really like having them being like the damage sponge like I do the tank. I like them being more safe in the back, able to heal others while keeping themselves at a decent enough health. I mean, they can with abilities, but not with their auto, not with their basic attack. Like, basic attacks can heal other like 7, 8, whatever your damage is, but they can't do that to themselves. If you have an ability that does it, sick, but that means if you're healing yourself, you're not healing others. Either way, they're still going in A. I think they're solid. Fellas, next up is Thief. Thief, I think, is very hit or miss. Out of all the classes here, the 2 I've played the least amount of is probably Thief and Monk. I've played Monk, obviously, 2 runs. Thief, I've played more than 2 runs, but I haven't played many runs of Thief. I've done like enough to get some marks on them, and I feel like whenever I do, they're either super crazy. I had a run recently, again, where a Thief went absolutely insane. But there's also other runs where I feel like they're kind of just there. I don't really know how to rank them exactly. Again, this is the issue with doing tier lists so early, is I feel like I don't have a solid enough opinion to throw them on the tier list, but that's exactly why I'm doing this. I think Thief is the second least consistent. Yeah, I don't think they're as consistent as a lot of the other classes. Again, they can go crazy. Any of these classes can go crazy, but I think just because my experience with the Thief hasn't been as good as some of these other classes, again, I've had runs where they were the absolute carry, but I've also had runs where they're kind of, again, just sitting there doing nothing. I think I throw it high C. I think I'll throw it above the Jester just because it's more consistent than a Jester, obviously. And I think it's kind of a diss to put Thief in the same tier as Jester, but I think I still throw it high C above a Jester. Like, imagine a bigger gap between these two, and that's better. Imagine this. Is that helping? Thief has one ability that automatically wins, but otherwise... Yeah, the one issue, I know it's in a few of their abilities and passives as well, is I'm just stupid. They have like a shadow ability, which makes a mimic of your guy whenever you move that still does your auto attack. I, for the life of me, cannot get it in my brain whenever I have that to not just hit my own guys in accident. That's just a me issue with it. But either way, it's just, I think they are going a high C for me for now. Again, after 100 hours, we'll see where I stand after 1,000 more. But boys, next up, I want to take a look at, we'll just go down the list now. Necromancer. I think is good, but suffers a similar issue as probably the Thief here, where I don't think it's super consistent, which may not be the best way to describe it. Being able to stack leeches is very good on Necromancer. But I feel like there are a few archetypes with Necromancer, right? There's a big leech stacking build, which you can do. There's a corpse build where like you can, you know, dig up corpses and explode them, get more stats. I guess a dying one too. There's one where you just die and you give everyone else stats and you like do extra stuff when you're actually down, which is interesting. I've never actually had a build where I like a down build. So where I'm like purposely going down to give my other guys stats or like making myself more buff. I never actually had a run like that before. If you can't down yourself safely. Yeah, that's the big thing. That's why I never really gone a down build on Necromancer, just because I've never been able to do so safely and have good enough abilities to make it really worth even trying to go for it. But that being said, Necromancer can be very, very good. Basically, where they are for me, they're kind of a self-sufficient tank in a way. They're kind of a mix of a cleric and a tank in my eyes, where they're a big body. They get a lot of constitution, and they're able to heal themselves, which is the issue that I have with the cleric. But if you're not able to get certain things to go off, and like if you're not able to get enough of the right kinds of passives or actives to help them out, either heal themselves or go for the archetype you're going for, I feel like they do struggle a bit. I don't know. I'm struggling with this. Because, again, I've only had 100 hours. I feel like my takes here are, like, super bad and not right. I don't think Necromancer is not as reliable in my eyes as a Cleric, a Tank, or a Hunter in my eyes. Like, I think they can be solid, but I think overall I've had less great runs with Necromancer occasionally. But genuinely, I'm going back to what I said before. I don't think they're as consistent. I've had bad Necromancer runs. Obviously, user error, 1000%. But I don't think, in my eyes, I'm putting them below Hunter, below Tank, below Cleric in my eyes. Is it below a Mage? Are you guys gonna be mad at me? You guys gonna be mad at me? I lied again. I think I put them in B. I think I put them mid B. I'm putting Mage above the Necromancer. All right? Hate me for it. I feel like I've had better and like more consistently good Mage runs than I have with Necromancer. Fellas, I've done both solo Necromancer and solo Mage runs. So like, am I not the perfect person to decide which one is better? Necro is too high, to be honest. I don't think so. I think they are better in my eyes than a fighter. I'd rather take a Necromancer over a fighter, but I'd rather take a Mage over a Necromancer. The whole list is invalid. It's been invalid since the get-go. Let's be real. Well, chat, next up, I think another take incoming Tinkerer. Fellas, again, I've seen so many tier lists of people putting the Tinkerer like in F tier and below, which I agree they're not the best class, but I don't think they're bad. The issue with it is like the inconsistency of the actual like weapons you're building with Tinkerer. Most of the time, you're not taking a weapon with you unless he starts with a good passive that stacks with it. So it's very inconsistent the weapons you get with the Tinkerer, but if you load up a Tinkerer run and you get a decent passive that makes your weapon pop off, it can be really good. But again, it's very dependent on the passives you get and the consistency of getting it. The Tinkerer does need good items to pop off, I agree. They have other archetypes as well they can go. I know they're like heavy robot builds or like things where you like build units and you can buff those separately, which is a decent build itself too. But the issue comes back to, even if you do go that robot build, you're still very dependent on the weapon you're building with your basic attack. So it's not good. I think it is fun. I think it is not as consistent as people like it to be, which is why people put it so low on the tier list. I've had builds where Tinkerer carries my run completely because they had a really good weapon. I had a run where they had a rocket launcher, and then I had abilities to basically buff that weapon to the moon every single combat, which is really, really good at carrying my whole run. But again, it's very dependent on the weapons you have and the passives, how they stack with the weapon. But I've also had very good supporty kind of Tinkerer builds where they spam medic bots. I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's very consistent. I think they have the same issue I've seen as the Thief, but I think, honestly, I think I put them in low C. I think I put them in low C, probably the lowest of all the classes that's not Collarless. I do really like the Tinkerer and it's very fun, but based purely off just that it's not as consistent. And consistency is key when there's so many random factors that go into a run. Being able to make something work out of nothing is great. And I feel like a lot of the time with Tinkerer, you can't make everything work with what you got. Below Jester, I put them below Jester. Mainly because Jester has options of all the classes alongside having roll options. Guaranteed. Being able to roll what you get, I think is more valuable than having a Tinkerer. That makes sense. I love the Tinkerer. I do like the class. I think it's fun. But not every class needs to be broken, and that's fine. If they never update Tinkerer, good. I think, honestly, leave it where it's a weird, fun class. Hi, Alex. Poor Tinkerer, I know. Alex, hold your ears. I'm giving my takes on classes after 100 hours. Alex, I'm also curious what your take is on, like, I know you've probably seen tier lists about where the classes are. I'm curious where you think everything goes. As somebody with, like, 3,000, whatever hours you have in the game now, what do you think about the Mage? I know my Mage take is probably the hottest take on my entire list. People think it's too high. I hate the Mage. Why do you hate the Mage? I think it is just the worst Hunter, but I think they have other options that Hunter doesn't in terms of like movement and like AoE, like crowd controlling abilities. I think people are way too critical of Mage. That's what I'm saying, Alex. Wait, Alex said I put Monk and Necromancer in C. Interesting. And Thief in B. Okay, you kind of swap them around. Next up is Druid. Now, I've seen tier lists where people rank Druid at the very, very, very top, which I think is crazy. My Druid take is not going to be as good as everybody else's, mainly because I haven't seen the most runs I've done in Druid are in Act 2. And Act 2 always starts off in the desert where your healing is -1 and Druid heals for 1. 1. So I feel like Druid in Act 2 is not the best where I've had my most runs with the Druid. But I've seen where Druids can kind of pop off in what they do, but I've never actually had a run where Druids were like the carry. I've never had a run where Druids were like the main healer or the main damage dealer. The fun part about Druid, I think, is they make additional bodies that can suck up damage. You can have squirrel builds where they have like a bunch of little guys show up. You can make a bunch of different like transformations you can go with, like the raccoon form and the tree form and whatever other forms there are, the tank form. I think there's a bunch of different versatile options a Druid can go, which is why I do want to rank them higher, even though I haven't had a lot of decent runs with the Druid. I think their ability to basically kind of go in different ways for their build are stupidly interesting. Because having options mid-run to, oh, this guy's just going to be my tank now. And also, he kind of just heals initially, and then he can go into a tank. I think it is very neat how they have options to basically hold out on the base form, do their thing, and then transform into whatever abilities they got to transform. Also, I guess a good thing to add on to it is the Crow. The Crow is a good part as well, because the Crow does take your stats as the Druid, which is interesting. But again, I haven't had a run where Druids are like crazy. Again, I know of their potential. I know people glazing the Druid, and I kind of agree, but not to as a hard of extent. Like, I think having any kind of healing on your team is solid because it does help out. But in most cases, I guess having the bird as well, because the bird is basically a big just meat shield, right? And that is just there innately. The big bird meat shield just innately being there is very nice because you can kind of just throw it in harm's way, let it soak up some damage instead of your cats. Because the bird's going to be at full health no matter what happens next fight. Who cares? But I think for me, would I rather have on my squad a Cleric or a Druid? Honestly, probably a Druid. But would I rather have a tank or a Druid on my squad? I'd rather have a tank. I think I throw them like middle A. I think Druid goes middle A for me. People may put it higher, but I'm honestly just comparing these to each other. Like, what run in my dream world? What run would I like to have? And what do I think would be crazy? I think having a Druid, a tank, and a hunter over a Druid in my eyes. But a Druid over a Cleric, a Mage, and everybody else. Crow basic isn't as good as other strength class basic though. The Crow in my brain isn't really there to do damage. It's a bonus that it does damage, but it helps a lot to basically either direct damage towards the Crow instead of your cats. So again, you could focus on healing or using your abilities without having to worry about it too much. But the bird does have like displacement abilities alongside being able to do damage and backstab damage to kind of fly and pick up coins for you to help kind of just get more resources. I think it is it's very versatile class, which is why I think people rank it so high. And it's why I throw it in an A. Lock me up. They're going in A, not S. All right, boys. Next, we got last two classes. Let's go with the Butcher first. In my head, Butcher is just a better everything than a fighter, which I know it's not the same, but I feel like Butcher is not always consistent. But anytime I have a Butcher on my team, I feel like the Butcher is always doing well. I feel like the Butcher is very solid because every time they auto attack, they spawn food that they can heal with or other people can heal with. It's like a weird pseudo healing kind of thing with them, which I think is neat. And they have a lot of abilities that help them either overheal or help them jump to abilities or jump to food or go to food to pick it up themselves. I think it is a very, very solid class. Again, let's go back to the tier list. Who would I rather have over a Butcher? They're like, it's an A tier for sure. A tier, maybe even like high S or like low S tier. Because most of the time, the runs I put you here for now. Most runs I have on Butcher have them basically go in, not even go in. The biggest part with them probably as well is their weapon. They have the hook to pull enemies to them that's in their line of sight. It's very good, especially you can pull diagonally and they can attack diagonally. It's a very good option. I guess the only issue is the low speed on Butcher, but if you're able to get in a good direction or like stand in a good spot to pull enemies towards you, you can kind of just hook them and then let your guys just hit the rest of them. It's very nice to displace certain enemies to pull them away from other enemies so you can focus solely on them. And having that just innately on the Butcher is very good. I think Butcher is a solid class. I think I'd probably put it in S. I'd probably put it in low S. I'd rather have it over a tank most likely. I think I gotta put it in low S. I think that's a solid take. The only time I take Fighter over Butcher is for completion. Honestly, same. The big thing with Fighter has a lot more speed than a Butcher does. So rather than like Butcher pulling enemy towards them, Fighter just goes to the enemy. Now that is an interesting take. Alex, where would you throw Butcher? What is your take with 3,005 million hours? Low B. Really? Where would you throw Fighter? Where would you throw? Would you think Fighter is more sought after than a Butcher? You say Fighter S, Butcher B. Damn. Maybe I'm just building my Fighters wrong. And maybe I'm building my Butchers too right and you just don't see it. It's going in low S. Sorry. This is my tier list. Low S. But chat, one last class to go through. We got Psychic. Now, I feel like Psychic, I've seen both people tier list them and like rank them very high and very low, depending on just how they're feeling. But on my runs I've had with Psychic, my Psychic has always been really, really, really good. I feel like Psychic is a super good supporting class. Because Psychic itself, I've had a few runs where Psychic wasn't really my damage, but helps stack additional things. Again, because their auto attack is infinite range. It doesn't matter where they are on the map. You can just hit them and pull them towards you. It is very good just to consistently do one free auto attack and bump them into a cactus or a wall to do additional damage. And if your auto does any kind of stacking abilities, like apply bleed or poison or anything, that's free to do. It is very good. They are just basically overall just a supporting build. And I think that people that rank them low are trying to make them do damage. And I think there are builds that make damage psychics work, but I think they shine more as a supporting mage class. I think I throw them here. I think I throw them below a hunter, but above a butcher. Like, I think psychics are very good. Well, maybe not. Hold on. Now that I'm seeing this, I'm thinking of me starting up a run. Hold on. Things are happening. Sorry, I'm just like fighting in my brain. What class would I rather take? Crazy takes, Matt. I think psychics are good, man. I think I'm gonna throw it here. I think throwing it in high A. I think here. I think a high A is good, but below a tank. I think tank is consistently good just for the body they provide. But I think psychic is very, very good as their own supporting thing. I just now noticed I ranked all like the supporting classes of Psychic, Druid, and Cleric all together. Wasn't on purpose. I just think supporting classes are good for their own different ways. I think Psychic is good, not for a healing factor, but just buffing your units, giving them extra turns, being able to debuff units that are in line of sight, or like displace units that are in line of sight. It is very, very good. They have a lot of different, very good supporting abilities. I think it's very solid to have a Psychic on your team, but you have to have other people to make them do. I've never done a solo Psychic run, so I'm curious how I can make that work, because I'm seeing them so much as a big supporting class. I need to delve more into how to make them work solo. Matt's perfect team is Hunter, Butcher, Tanking, Psychic. Not exactly. Like, this wouldn't make my perfect build of these together, but just individually, you know? Again, chat, this is after 100 hours. This is my tier list, okay? Hunter, Butcher, and S tier. Okay, there's a big gap in between them, probably like this. Just imagine, it's over here, okay? Tank, Psychic, Druid, Cleric, all in A tier. I think the supporting things are great. I think the body from the tank is very good to have on any team. B tier, we got the Mage, we got the Necromancer. I think they're good, but the consistency kind of falls off in B tier. Monk, I just haven't played enough of, so they're going very middle of the list. Fighter, I think, is troubling in my brain because they're getting in there. They have a lot of speed, but I always have issues getting out with the fighter, and they're not really a tank, so they can't absorb that much damage, but they can't take some, but I'd rather not. Low B. Anyways, Thief is in C. I feel like they have consistency issues, but I don't know how true that is. I don't know. It's 100 hours. I'm probably very wrong. Anyways, Jester also in C. I think it's good for the rerolls. That's why it's not like super low F tier like other people have done. Having it like reroll options, crazy. And then Tinkerer, I think is funny, but you need a good weapon for them to really pop off. That or just good other abilities that make them carry themselves in their own special way. But I think it's just harder to do in general as the Tinkerer. And then Collarless is Collarless. That's the tier list, fellas. Wow. What are your thoughts? Do you think I'm dumb as shit? Do you think I'm cool as shit? Let me know right now. So this is my tier list, okay? Everyone screenshot and take a picture. This is me. What I want to do now, Alex, in my chat, I want you to rank everything, if you don't mind. Again, Alex is the person who's 100% of the game, 2,500 plus hours in the game. They said Fighter was in S tier, Butcher was in B tier. Alex, where would you throw these guys? Hunter in S tier. Okay. Would you put above Fighter? No, not above Fighter. You put a Fighter above Hunter. Interesting. I'm just sleeping on the Fighter, I guess, man. Mage in B. Hold on. He's cooking. I'm based. Tank in A. Hold on. I'm cooking. Monk in C tier. Tinker also in C tier. Okay. I've seen people rank Monk so high. Jester in D tier. Okay. If you need an F tier, let me know, Alex. But Monk in C. I've seen so many people glaze the Monk. Surprised to see him so low. Collarless also in D. I'm assuming below Jester. Also, I'm assuming Tinker below the Monk. Necromancer in C. Where in Necromancer? Below the Monk. It's like mid C. Druid goes below the Tank in A. That's exactly where I had him, minus the Psychic. Psychic in low B. That's fair. Maybe I value the supporting abilities too high. Thief in low A. Okay. Last up is Cleric. Damn, this guy don't know what he's talking about. Real. Cleric goes below the Mage. In B tier, huh? Well, Chad, this is Alex's tier list after 2,500, 3,000, whatever hours in the game. Fighter above Hunter, which is crazy. Again, I just feel like I'm sleeping on Fighter then. I mean, if Alex ranks them so high, like at this point, I don't think this is personal opinion. I think this is like the dev of the game telling me, hey, this class is really good. But Tank in A, Druid in A, Thief in A. I mean, I think Thief is also good. I just have issues with making them good every single run I do. I gotta give him more of a chance, I guess. And then Mage in B. my goat. I agree. I think Mage is great at moments. I think it's good. Cleric in B, Butcher in B, Psychic in B. Okay. I mean, these I can all see. Like, none of these are, I think, are stupidly, egregiously hard for me to believe. I like Thief for hitting multiple targets. Hunter and Fighter are great at one-shotting an enemy and getting them off the board. I know Hunter is. I guess Fighter does have a lot of good things that do that, but I've never been able to get them to work as well as I have a Hunter. Monk in C tier. That one probably surprises me the most of everything. Even though I haven't played Monk that often, I've only heard good things about the Monk. So having the Pro put it in C tier. Maybe they're ass, chat. But also Necromancer in C, I can see. I can understand that. And then Tinker in low C, I think it just makes. I think nobody has an issue with throwing him in low C. But then Jester in D tier alongside Collarless. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, having Jester low does make sense. Just because of the inconsistency of everything. Because, like, you can't have a crazy run, but, like, it's going to be more of a struggle to make a run work on a Jester over somebody else. The problem with Monk is the lack of trinket and weapon. That is fair. Yeah, because they can't hold a trinket or a weapon as a monk, which is very interesting. That is a fair thing to bring up, because that is just less stats you can have overall. My tier list was not that different from this tier list. This was my tier list, was Alex's tier list. I mean, are they really that different if you think about it? Fighter's probably one of the biggest difference ones. Thief, I need to give more love. Fighter, I need to give more love. I need to give less love to Butcher, less love to Psychic, apparently. Still no F tier. Like, I don't think any class is inherently bad. I don't think there's any reason to throw anything in F. But chat, that's my tier list. Wow, I hope you guys aren't mad at me or mad at Alex. They made the game or something. Don't be mad at them.